So welcome back to the channel, everyone, and welcome to this new review series of movies from the past that I've never actually visited for whatever reason it may be. And today's movie is the film Commando. Now, before I get into the reason as to why I've not watched it, what I'm going to do at the end of this, much like my Defending the Dud, I'm going to give you 3 films to vote on, and I'll put a poll out, and you tell me what unseen film I should watch and review next, and I'll review that. Then at the end of that one, I'll give you 3 other films that I've never seen, or another film, however it works, so we can get through them. And you tell me what I should be watching, you want me to talk about. So I've started off proceedings myself with Commando. Gareth over at Video Tasters has done an Arnold Schwarzenegger infused month of movies where he's watched loads of Arnie films with people. And I said to him, I've never watched Commando. Now, I did buy this a little while ago, with the intent of watching it. Now, Commando came out in what? It was a 1985 movie. I think over here in the UK we may have got it in early of 1986. So why have I never visited this film? Because I like Arnie movies, but why have I never watched Commando? And I'll tell you why, because there's never been a hook for me for this film. There's nothing in this film that's hooked me. This is a film that's sort of come off of the back of the Rambo kind of movies, where it is just action for the sake of action. You know, the Terminator had the hook of the android, do you know what I mean? And things like that. Predator had the alien. This film here is like Predator with no alien. It's just a geezer running around doing action. And, you know, and for that reason, surprisingly, you know, I've not seen Raw Deal either, Arnie's film, which will make the list at some point. Yes, and so these films have gone unwatched. So I sat down and I watched this with the missus. She's seen it plenty of times. Luckily, it only runs for an hour and 25 minutes. It's a very, very short film. And the story is basically, you've got Arnie, you've got his ex-team of SEALs, or whatever they may be, military specialists, that are being killed off by Bill Duke, who was in Predator with Arnie. I think that's his name, Bill Duke. And we come to find out that him and his men stopped a coup or something in the fictional country of Valdez, is it called? The same country as what the bad guy from Die Hard 2 came from, that fictional country, and people say that Predator may be set there as well. I don't know, it's just a fictional country. And then they go after Arnie, but they kidnap his daughter, and they want him to go to Valdez, or whatever it's called, to go and assassinate the president there, to get this other geezer into power, essentially. Only Arnie has 11 hours to save his daughter because he's meant to be on a flight, but he's killed the geezer on the flight, jumps off of the flight, goes off to find his daughter and kill the people responsible for kidnapping his daughter. And along the way, he enlists the help of this air hostess, and action ensues. So what did I think of this film? I think it's one of them rare cases that, had I watched the film in the 80s when I was a teenager, when I didn't know any better, I would probably have thought more of it. I didn't think it was a great film. Stuff didn't make sense to me in the narrative. You know, you've got these bad guys at the beginning, they're wiping out his team. So, you know, my mind is like, okay, so these bad guys have sat around and they formulated this plan where they thought it was a good idea to pose as dustmen, get a dust cart on dust, you know, and take it into this quiet suburban neighbourhood very early in the morning, with this dust cart, to get the geezer to come out because he thinks that he's going to miss the dustbin collection. Thusly, this geezer goes out and they sort of mow him down with submachine guns, like little Uzis, only then to use the dust cart as their escape vehicle. So they've chosen something that's going to be extremely visible, extremely slow. They're doing it early in the morning when the sound of submachine guns without suppressors is going to wake people up anyway. And it just made no sense to me. It was just like, what was that all about? So anyway, so the film goes on. It's got your sort of, you know, it's got your tropes of an Arnold Schwarzenegger film from that era. He has to pick something heavy up. He has to, if it's not a vehicle or a big door or something, you know, he has to do something extreme, like sort of Mr. Universe kind of, you know, the world's strongest man kind of competition kind of stuff in the film, like he does. You know, his one-liners in this are I could see them coming a mile away. I could see them. When he sticks the tube through the geezer and all the steam's coming out. I said before he said, I said, I don't know if I've seen it somewhere or heard it before, but I just said he's letting off steam. You know, it's just so predictable. Now, not only that, right, I seriously, I got to the end scene when, I started laughing towards the end of the film. I really did. So, you know, he's kitted himself out in his flak jacket with all the grenades on and all this sort of thing. He's put on the face paint, right? And then he ends up in this little, like, shed, and he has to take this jacket off. He's got nothing on underneath it. He's taken the flak jacket off, and he's painted his body. He's put war paint on his body like he knows I'm going to be taking this jacket off sometime so I can run around topless with all my muscles on show, but let's put some war paint all across my body. I was laughing, and then I see where something like Hot Shots Part 2 gets its inspiration from with its action. Now, no, Hot Shots Part 2 is more heavily based on the sort of Rambo films, because obviously I've seen the Rambos, I've seen Hot Shots Part 2, but I see the stuff in Hot Shots Part 2 when Charlie Sheen's shooting people and people are dying by doing sort of ballerina spins. It's happening here in this film. It's people are dying in that sort of way at the end when he's, you know, all these gunmen, this army that he takes out, you know, they've all gone to the stormtrooper school of shooting, where they can't hit a thing. You know, there's bullets flying around left, right and centre. Arnie's on target every bloody time. Yeah, he'll throw a grenade will explode next to some people, they'll fly through the air and obviously they're dead, and a grenade explodes next to Arnie, he flies through the air, then he's up off onto his feet again. It was just completely ridiculous, and seriously speaking, you know, it was a fun time, it was a fun film, you know, 85 minutes flew by, it's got some good action set pieces in it, it's got Arnie, but seriously, to me, it was more comedic than anything else. I was laughing at the film. I thought it was ludicrous. But the film ultimately seems pointless. It doesn't have a narrative point to it. That's the biggest issue I have, biggest gripe I have with this film. It's like I'm just watching proceedings. I'm just watching events happening as opposed to there being a story. And that's the biggest gripe. But, you know, I can see why people like it. I can see why it was probably beloved in its time. But it's one of those sort of situations where, like I said, nostalgia plays a big part. And had I grown up with the film, I'd probably love it a lot more than what I thought of it now. And that happens to people. It's happened to a lot of people who watch older stuff that they haven't seen. And there we go. So there's my thoughts on the movie Commando. Sip of tea. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you 3 films in my collection here that I've never watched, that you might be surprised that I have never watched. A couple of them at least, I don't know. So the first one, now I picked this up for a reason back in the day, and I've still not watched it. And if you're watching, Val, you know it's Black Rain with Michael Douglas. I've never seen Black Rain with Michael Douglas. So I'm going to include that here for you until such time that it gets voted upon and I give it a watch. So you can finally hear at some point in the near future my thoughts on this movie. So that's Black Rain. Second up, I've got a 5-movie Tom Cruise collection here. Now, I'm not a fan of young Tom Cruise, so a lot of his films may pop up on this list, on this voting list at some point. But today, off of this here box set, the one film I would choose, well, there's only one film on here I haven't actually seen. If I'd gone back 6 months, there was 2 films I hadn't seen, one being Top Gun, but I watched that. and reviewed it when Top Gun 2 came out. I saw it the day before going to see Top Gun 2. So here I'm going to pick Days of Thunder. Yes, I've never seen that Tom Cruise film, Days of Thunder. Not something I've ever watched or wished to watch. But there we go. I picked this up for £8, CEX, a while ago. Had a few of them. So there we go. Black Rain, Michael Douglas. Days of Thunder with Tom Cruise. And now I'm going to pick this here Schwarzenegger collection. Yes, sorry, Stallone. Schwarzenegger's on the brain. Stallone collection. Now, again, there are some Stallone films that I haven't ever bothered to watch because, to me, they were that straight-up action thing without a hook. And the one here is pictured on the front, and it is Cobra. Yes, I've seen Assassins, I've seen Tango and Cash, The Specialist, and Demolition Man. But I've never watched Cobra. So there we go. There's your 3 films. Cobra, Days of Thunder, and Black Rain. So I'm going to put a voting poll up for those 3 films. Maybe 24 hours after this has gone live. And you tell me which one of them 3 films I watch next. And I'll watch that over the next couple of weeks. There'll be no time or anything to this series. It'll just be as and when. Just to get through some of those older films. Those films that I haven't seen in my collection. It might even come into new films. I don't know. It may even come into unknown films. Who knows as it goes on. But I'll stick to some of the bigger ones first off. So, yeah, let me know in the vote when that comes up what one you'd like me to watch, sit, review, and I will give you my thoughts on it. This is AJ. Thanks for watching, and I shall see you all later.